Okay, hello, internet world. This is Norma Joe. Kind of. I took off my wig, and my makeup is almost totally worn off. I had my nice bowl of rice here. About to have another one, but at least I'm satisfied for the moment. Anyway, okay. While I'm on my overachiever day, I'm like, why not just make one more video? So, I was on Netflix, right? And uh, I I was watching some I was in the mood for one of those just classic History Channel documentaries. I put it on. It was about ancient civilizations. It was like Rome. Then the next one was Greece. Then it was Egypt. Then it was ancient China. Then it was Aztecs and all this shit. So I put it on, right? Then I think I put it on sometime when I was home alone or something. Because I let it run all night. I think that's what happened. Anyway, whatever. The point is, or maybe I was doing chores during it. I don't remember. But basically, I ran through all the episodes. And then, do you know how on Netflix, something else just pops up afterwards and starts playing? So, this thing called Roman Empire came up. And I know there's already been a bajillion shows of. There was that show that was just literally called Rome. I think it was on HBO or something. I didn't watch it, but my parents did. My parents watch everything. If you watch my videos, whoever you are out there, I'm sure you'll notice this pattern that my parents usually watch everything, and I and I just kind of hear about it. But the only part of Rome I remember seeing was I walked through the room one time when they were watching it, and this lady literally just got up on the balcony like this, up like that, and then she just fucking threw herself backwards off the balcony. And I was like, what was that about? But anyways, so the funny thing is that at least is a drama. That admits what it is. It's like Game of Thrones. It's a fictional piece of art. Maybe has some historical inspiration, but it's essentially fiction. Just a show for you to watch for entertainment. This thing came on, it's got, the experts, the scholars talking and all this shit. And it was just on. This thing, Roman Empire, is what I'm talking about now. And I thought it was just another one of these documentaries, right? But then it turns out it's that style of documentary, kind of like that newer style. Okay, my preference is for, my nostalgic old 90s, thing where it's just some people talking, they bounce between all these different scholars, they interview them in, front of some, stack of books or something, or, some dark background. And then in between, while they're, talking about stuff, they show, this kind of, a clip show, basically. It's, maps, paintings, different pictures, and then you got the reenactors. And the reenactors are always, the best part for me, but I like it all mixed together. How you have, a mixed ice cream thing with, fruit in it and stuff. Or whipped cream and stuff. You don't want whipped cream by itself. I mean, maybe you do, but it's better when it's mixed with everything else, right? So, anyways, that's what I go for usually. But then there's this new style where it's they literally kind of make a movie, but they cut, basically instead of the clip show of the multimedia, which is honestly a more abstract way of conveying everything, which is kind of what I like. And they always have these weird things where you're just kind of and what I like about the reenactments in the olden days, like the 90s, is that they don't really talk. It's almost kind of they just took clips from, something that already exists, put it on mute, and, just kind of let it speak for itself, The people never have lines or anything like that. But in this new style, it's, literally like a movie, in between the scholars talking, They have lines, they have setups, and everything's specifically made for this show, right? They're trying to make their own, story to it. Which I prefer less, but at the same time, it's a fucking, riot. This shit, when I finally sat down and started watching it, I realized what a fucking riot it is. And they definitely have their own, skewed interpretation of shit. I'm not a fucking history expert, but I can tell just by looking at it, this is probably not the most accurate shit in the world, okay? They definitely had some kind of angles they were trying to pull and trying to do their own, interpretation of historical events. But you know what? They can do that. It's fine. I mean, it happened like fucking over 2,000 years ago or whatever, so who really gives a fuck? But I'm just saying, I'm not gonna take that all their word at face value. Like, it's primarily entertainment. But anyways, the point is, I just really have to find my people because, like, this, I'm so into this bullshit. And this trashy, like, fucking Hard Rock Cafe looking shit. And nobody wants to hear me talk about this shit. I really want to go on and on. And I'll probably make, like, maybe between 3 and 4 videos about this shit, knowing how I fucking go on and on, you know. But, like, I just want to talk about it so bad, and nobody wants to hear me fucking talk about it. Nobody wants to hear about this shit. People are embarrassed and prefer to just pretend like it doesn't even exist. But I fucking love it, honestly. Like, I mean, I kind of get a tingle in my spine of, like, embarrassment that it exists and that I like it so much, and I'm watching it, and I kind of want to watch it again. But, like, I mean, like, I watched it one time through with, like, my dad in the other room and stuff, and it's fine to do that once. Because it's like kind of like, okay, I started it, I just want to finish it. But if I was to put it on again with my dad in the other room, he would literally be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you watching this? And then he would just look down upon me like, God, you're really fucking shallow. You just want to watch these fucking Abercrombie and Fitch models walking around in their underwear. But it's not all about that. Like, it's not, that's not the thing that makes it so fun. It is funny and fun that everything is so sexily unrealistic, you know? But that's still not the main thing. It's nice part of it, but it's not a whole main thing. Like, the main thing is just how fucking, it's just the whole entirety of how ridiculous it all is. Like, the dialogue is so modern and so dumb, and everything is just so silly. Like, it's just really makes me laugh. You know, the whole thing, I love looking at the costumes, and honestly more than people's naked ass bodies. Because you can see naked bodies on every show, but you don't always see this, like, historically themed. Like, the fact that it's supposed to be taken seriously at some level, but yet fails to be serious, almost to where it's like, did you really mean for this to be serious in the first place, or are you bluffing the whole entire time? You know, but anyways, okay, I should wrap up my fucking thesis or whatever I'm going on and on about. I just want to recap this fucking show, because I honestly just fucking love it. So, basically, like I said when I was doing the intro to the Hose of Liberty thing, and like I basically already said, I think it's just so funny when these movie makers, they obviously, and they put a lot into this, you know, they hire these people, they got speaking roles, everything looks clean as fuck, they're obviously shelling out the money for this shit, but it's just like, they're taking it so seriously, and yet it's just like, they're just like, yeah, this is like educational material. It's like, this is not educational material. This is trash. This is like Las Vegas trash right here. But it's entertaining. So, anyways, whatever. It's 3 seasons. I feel like they get progressively more lazy as they go on. And it's too bad because, okay, basically they do not go in historical order, as my dad pointed out. The first season is about this guy named Commodus, or Commodus as I was calling him, because he is a commode. God, I was so happy when he died. Spoiler. Anyways, he was the first season. I never heard of this motherfucker before, and apparently he's one of the last emperors of Rome. Then, second season, you got Julius Caesar. And I should say the first season is 6 episodes long. Second season, you got Julius Caesar. You basically need Caesar, but this Caesar is not the Caesar you know. Okay, this Caesar is a different Caesar. So, like, that one is 5 episodes. And then last season is Caligula, because of course. The epitome of everything that I've gone on about for the last 9 minutes. But he only gets 4 episodes. And I really feel like he had a lot more to give. And they kind of, like, just threw him to the side. Like, kind of like they were, like, running out of time, you know, and everyone was just like, wrap it up. And I'm just like, I feel like they should have switched it. Like, you should have given, first of all, you don't need to go 6-5-4. It could just be 5-5-5. But if you're gonna do it, like, progressive, okay, Commodus should have got 4 episodes, because he doesn't deserve, I mean, it was a fun show to watch, but, I mean, come on. Like, who is this motherfucker? Like, anyways, so basically, I'm just gonna jump right in. So, whatever. God, what are the cats doing? Anyways, okay. So basically, the show starts, and none of these motherfucking people, if I haven't made it clear enough already, look like anything. They don't look remotely ancient Roman. And not that I know what an ancient Roman would look like. Oh my god, what the fuck is going on? Okay. So, anyways, it's funny because I thought the cats would be in the cat food and the catnip, but they totally ignored that cabinet and they were standing on the fucking cutting boards and knocked them all over. Whatever. So, anyways, also I should say Sean Bean is the narrator of this show. His lovely little voice, his lovely, lovely voice, which they obviously know because that's what I hired him for. Um, and so that was fun. Okay, so basically it starts off, right? Commodus. Apparently, according to my dad, they didn't. I don't think they really said this in the show, but according to my dad, this is like about fucking 200 years after Julius Caesar or something like that. Okay, it starts off with this guy named Marcus Aurelius, and he's like an old man, and he's like Emperor of Rome. And then they're saying like, yeah, his son had like a charmed life, and it's Sean Bean saying that, so he doesn't talk like the way I just said it, but this is my version, okay? So, and the other funny thing is that me and my dad were talking about the fact that in these shows, they always make everybody in history like British, which I always think is so fucking weird. Like, I know it's the whole just like it's just it's left over from like the theater, the transatlantic fake accent, whatever that shit, and just this idea that the British are refined and historical people are refined, and so this must all be British, But I think it's fucking retarded. Like, I'm just like, give me a goddamn break. Like, I mean, they had I remember fucking when I watched Alexander and I watched it with the commentary on. Fucking what's his name? Oliver Stone actually tried to have like an excuse for his. So at least he tried to get a little bit creative with his excuses. He was like, yeah, I gave Alexander like a London accent, and then I gave Hephaestion like a Irish accent, and then I gave this guy like Scottish accent. He's like, because like back in then in the Empire, like you would have had all these different accents coming together, so I gave them all the accents of the UK. Okay, that doesn't really it doesn't really hold up when you like really think about it, but it's just funny to me how like they they still have to have these British accents, and like even like I was saying before with Thor and Loki, it's like these motherfuckers shouldn't be talking with British accents. Why don't you give them a Norwegian accent or Swedish accent? That would at least make a little more sense. But then it's like, yeah, with Romans, ancient Greeks, Romans, and like stuff like that. I don't know, like, and also in that fucking the Vlad the Impaler movie, fucking the Romanians and the Turks, all that. Actually, no, the Turks had a little bit of a Russian accent, I think, a little bit of East European in their voice, but Vlad and his family definitely were all British as fuck. And then fucking Prince of Persia. I mean, I feel like people forget that. Okay, yes, the Persian Empire was different back then, but it's basically Iran. Like Iran is Persia became Iran or something like that. I'm not an expert on this field, but that's my understanding. So, yeah, a short story. Why are you having all these white bitches talking in British accents? This is Iran. It's Iran, you motherfuckers. Anyways, what was I even saying? Right. So they got all the British people here, and my dad was just pointing out, yeah, it's because back then they were the empire with all the power, and nowadays, and then now it's the descendants of the British Empire that have all the power, and it's basically the same structural system to where you gotta be all hoity-toity and all this crap. It's the same system living on today for thousands and thousands upon years. And all, bullshit. Anyways, whatever. So, where was I? Right. Marcus Aurelius, he's this old man, right? He's got this bratty ass son named Commodus, And fucking the first thing they show, the very first thing is Commodus like in a room with like three girls or something, and they're all like fucking naked, bullshit like that. And the funny thing is, when the show came on, like I told you, the show just started playing by itself, and I just let it play, and I got into it. But it didn't start from the first episode of season 1. It started for some reason with the last season with Caligula, and I wasn't really watching because I was cleaning or doing whatever the fuck I was doing. And so when I looked over and I saw Caligula, well, I was a little surprised they had like a hot guy playing him because I didn't know I didn't know about the game, what game they were playing yet. But then when I saw him like with all these chicks and stuff, I'm like, okay, I know he's supposed to be a huge slut, so I'll let this one pass. I still thought it was normal, but then when I started watching it from the start, and I see this dude Commodus with all these motherfucking like Baywatch girls, I'm just like, and then you see Commodus, and I swear to God, he is straight up like one of these like fashion models. Like, I don't know what company, Abercrombie and Fitch or Calvin Klein, something like that. He just has that look, and it's not for me, okay? I know that he's technically hot, but too sharp, man. But let's just say he looks very modern, okay? Very modern, okay? Anyways, oh, and I forgot actually before that, it was, the way it really, really starts, I totally forgot this, is that he's in like this gladiator ring and he comes out with like a stuffed lion's head on his head because he's cosplaying as Hercules, which they get into much later. And then he gets in a fight with the gladiator, then it just kind of like, cuts to black. Like, oh, okay, if you want to see how we got to this point, keep watching or whatever. We're going to come back to this in episode 5 or whatever. So, yes, he's making out with all these girls and stuff. His mom, I think, comes in. His mom just walks in the room while he's fucking, and she's just like, the only thing you do is get drunk and, fuck. So I'm sending you to go with your dad. Honestly, you should have done this a long time ago. Your son's like 20 years old. Maybe like 21 or 22, something like that. That's another funny thing, is that these people age during the story, but they don't actually age, okay? We have known for decades and decades that you can take an actor and, like, especially if they're a young actor, like, you just put makeup and stuff, make them look older, but they didn't even try. They didn't even try in the show. It's one thing to start a story where somebody's young, and you start them with the young actor, make them all look all pretty and shit for their youth, and then, show them kind of age up. But this show didn't even fucking try. Like, literally decades go by. Oh my God, when I get to Caesar, like, this is just out of control, bitch. But they didn't even try. So it's kind of confusing because it's like, okay, they start this guy off. He looks like he's like 30, something like that. Maybe like, late 20s, like up to 30, And then they're trying to say like, oh, he's like 20 years old. It's like, okay, fine. He can be 20. It's whatever. It doesn't matter. But then much later, they're like, yeah, 15 years later, he still looks the exact fucking same. Because obviously they shot all this in like a fucking week. It's just like, what? Like, he's got this sister that's 12 years older than him. And yeah, in the beginning, it's just kind of like, okay, she's 12 years older than him. Fine. He's 20. Let's just say he's 20. She's 32. Okay, fine. She can be 32. She looks like she's 20. But, whatever, cool. She looks good. That's great. 32 is not that old. But then, yeah, 15 years on, it's like, what would that be? 47 or something like that? She still looks like she's 20? Okay, bitch, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, and then the mom isn't much older than them. So whatever. The whole shit is out of whack, but that's kind of what I like. I like how ridiculous it is. I like how they seem to just really not give a fuck. Like, the not giving a fuckness. They give so much of a fuck about certain things, and then certain other things they just seem to not give a fuck at all. And that's part of what makes me laugh about it, is it's kind of like you can see where they didn't even try, and it's just kind of like, okay, great, cool. Like, for some reason it reminds me of, like, this story I heard from this girl who I had dance class with one time. I think it was dance class. And she was really fucking annoying. I hated this bitch. But she told this really funny story one time. She wasn't even telling it to me. She was telling it to her friend, and I just overheard it. But basically she said she went to some Halloween party, and nobody had it was a costume contest, and nobody had a costume. Everybody was nude, according to her. Probably had underwear on or whatever, thongs or whatever. But she described it as everyone was nude and just had body paint on. And she said there was one girl who had like a huge, elaborate, like Queen Elizabeth costume, and everybody else was naked and just painted. So that's kind of how I feel about this show in a weird way. But anyways, okay, let me cut off. Hope it doesn't corrupt. Hope, hope, hope.